Briefing on October 28, 2024. 1. The U.S. presidential election has entered its final sprint phase, with Vice President Kamala Harris's camp cautiously optimistic about her chances, believing the electoral landscape is shifting in her favor. Democratic strategists are increasingly hopeful that portraying Trump as a fascist, combined with extensive campaigning in swing states and the heightened enthusiasm of female voters due to the end of abortion rights, will lead Harris to a narrow victory. 2. Israel recently launched military strikes against Iran, with analysts and former diplomats suggesting that Israel is taking the lead in shaping the Middle East situation, while the U.S. has become a secondary player. The Biden administration's influence has been significantly curtailed, unable to push for a comprehensive peace plan or to restrain Prime Minister Netanyahu's actions. This conflict coincides with the U.S. presidential election season, and the election results may impact Israel's future actions. 3. Reports of crowds being attacked by crows have emerged in multiple locations, leaving victims feeling terrified and helpless. This is not an isolated incident, with numerous similar reports from places like Vancouver. Experts indicate that these attacks may be driven by complex social and ecological factors that require further investigation. 4. A 67-year-old woman in North Carolina is struggling due to medical issues and is unable to access necessary healthcare services following a hurricane. The impact of extreme weather events on vulnerable populations warrants attention. 5. The Toronto Maple Leafs have signed player McCabe to a 5-year contract, making the 31-year-old defenseman a core part of the team. However, the team has concentrated a number of older players on the defensive line, raising questions about their ability to maintain high performance in the future. Briefing: Washington Post's decision not to endorse presidential candidates sparks controversy. 1. The Washington Post has announced it will no longer endorse presidential candidates, marking the first time in 36 years the paper has made such a decision. Publisher William Lewis stated that this is to return to the paper's independent tradition and allow readers to make their own judgments. 2. This decision has sparked widespread criticism and controversy. Several Washington Post columnists jointly published an article condemning the decision as a terrible mistake. A former executive editor also described it as a cowardly act. 3. Previously, the owner of the Los Angeles Times, Patrick Soon-Shiong, had also prevented the paper from endorsing Democratic candidate Harris, leading to the resignation of the editorial editor. 4. These decisions are seen as motivated by considerations for future governance and the need to maintain good relationships. However, some readers support this impartial stance. 5. Overall, the shift in stance by these major media outlets has ignited intense discussion, reflecting the complexity of the current political environment and concerns about media credibility. Briefing: Jessica Reed Krause's unique career path. Jessica Reed Krause is an independent blogger and freelance writer who transitioned from a self-described liberal mommy blogger to a conservative-leaning opinion influencer. Krause began blogging about parenting in 2011, quickly amassing a large following due to her engaging writing style and unique perspective. However, as she began to question the COVID vaccine and other social hot-button issues, she gradually distanced herself from the left and shifted towards reporting on celebrity gossip and political topics. Krause gained widespread attention for her unique, question-everything perspective while covering the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard defamation trial and the Ghislaine Maxwell case. She established close ties with conservative figures and publicly supported Trump and Kennedy. Today, Krause has nearly 400,000 subscribers on the Substack platform, becoming a significant independent media figure. Her reporting style is highly personal and often unconstrained by traditional journalistic standards, sparking controversy. This distinctive approach has made her popular within conservative circles, but has also drawn criticism from mainstream media. Overall, Krause's career trajectory reflects the changing media landscape, where independent bloggers and freelance writers are challenging the status of traditional news organizations and playing an increasingly important role in politics and public opinion. Briefing on October 28, 2024. The Internet Archive suffered a hacking attack that led to a 9-day outage, drawing widespread attention and criticism. The hacker group SN_Black claimed responsibility and made some controversial statements. Although the Internet Archive's files were protected, the incident has been likened to a modern-day burning of the Library of Alexandria. Meanwhile, two individuals with criminal pasts, Mitchell Johnson and Cody Posey, donated funds to support the recovery efforts of the Internet Archive. Their stories have sparked reflections on the possibility of redemption for former criminals. On another note, Volkswagen may close up to 3 factories in Germany, resulting in tens of thousands of layoffs, marking the first such occurrence in the company's 87-year history. This will undoubtedly deal a further blow to the German economy. Additionally, the U.S. stock market is highly concentrated, with some investment funds potentially violating tax regulations due to excessive holdings in large tech stocks, reflecting investors' perceptions of risk. In summary, this briefing covers various aspects including the preservation of Internet history, crime and redemption, challenges in manufacturing, and investment risks, making it rich in content and worthy of attention. Briefing: the story of transgender rights advocate Gavin Grimm. Gavin Grimm is a transgender rights advocate who, at the age of 15, sparked a nationwide legal dispute by demanding to use the restroom that aligned with his gender identity. Although he ultimately achieved victory in court, this prolonged legal battle has had a significant impact on his life. Grimm faced severe bullying and discrimination during high school, but defended his rights through litigation. However, this victory did not bring him a stable life. Due to physical and mental health challenges, he has struggled to find stable employment and has faced multiple housing crises. He is currently facing homelessness, highlighting that even a nationally recognized rights advocate can find it difficult to escape poverty and marginalization. This case underscores the challenges faced by the transgender community in society. Even with legal victories, achieving true social equity and equality remains elusive. Grimm's experience serves as a reminder that more comprehensive and sustained measures are needed to protect the rights of vulnerable groups and create a fairer living environment for them. 2024 ICC Women's T20 World Cup. On October 20, 2024, in the final of the ICC Women's T20 World Cup held at Dubai International Cricket Stadium, New Zealand defeated South Africa by 32 runs to claim the championship for the first time. New Zealand batted first, finishing their innings with a total score of 158 for 5. Amelia Kerr was the standout performer, with an impressive 43 runs. In South Africa's chase, they fell short of the target, ending with a score of 126-9. New Zealand's Amelia Kerr and Rosemary Mair each took 3 wickets. Amelia Kerr's outstanding all-round performance not only earned her the MVP of the match, but also the best player of the entire tournament. This victory marks New Zealand's first title in the Women's T20 World Cup, signifying a new chapter for the tournament. UK-Germany defense cooperation. In the global security landscape, German defense company Rheinmetall has established a factory in the UK to produce tank barrels. Although the scale is limited, it reflects a new trend in defense cooperation between the UK and Germany. This collaboration was reached shortly after the new Labour government took office in the UK, demonstrating Labour leader Keir Starmer's efforts to strengthen defense security cooperation with European allies to promote reconciliation between the UK and Europe. This bilateral defense agreement is referred to as the Trinity Meeting Agreement, aiming to establish a cooperative mechanism similar to the Anglo-French Lancaster Meeting Treaty. This initiative reflects growing concerns among European nations about the reliability of the US within NATO, prompting them to seek greater autonomy in defense security matters. Briefing: The Times launches Know Your Arif series. 1. The Times has launched a Know Your Arif series, showcasing the challenges and hardships journalists face in reporting. These short films reveal the efforts and courage reporters exert to uncover the truth, including facing death threats and legal disputes. 2. On October 17, 2024, the Israeli military killed Palestinian Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar in Gaza. U.S. President Biden called it a good day for Israel, the U.S., and the world. The Iranian president expressed condolences over the incident. 3. In Pennsylvania, the author observed that Democratic supporters still exist in rural areas, fighting for justice and goodness. Despite facing hostility from Republican supporters, they remain resilient and determined. 4. According to a New York Times/Siena College poll, voter preferences in Nebraska and Texas show a complex distribution. The survey results reflect the intricacies of the current U.S. political landscape. Overall, these articles highlight the hardships of journalistic work and the complexities of the current U.S. political landscape. Despite the challenges, journalists and voters committed to truth and justice continue to strive. Briefing: Police misconduct in Sarah Everard case. 1. 7 current and former police officers have been accused of illegally accessing confidential information and X-rays related to the Sarah Everard case, driven solely by personal curiosity. 2. One of the accused, trainee detective Hannah Rebeck, allegedly accessed Everard's X-rays a week after her disappearance. 3. These officers provided false explanations when questioned, attempting to cover up their actions. Their behavior has been deemed damaging to the reputation of the police force and contrary to police values and standards. UK government considers new nuclear waste disposal method. 1. The government is currently planning to establish geological disposal facilities on the coast for the permanent storage of nuclear waste, with estimated costs ranging from £20 billion to £53 billion. 2. Some scholars have proposed drilling underground holes 5 kilometers deep to store high-level radioactive waste, a method that is superior to geological disposal facilities in many respects and could be implemented within the next decade. 3. Scholars are urging Energy Secretary Ed Miliband to consider this new disposal method to address the nuclear waste issue more quickly and cost-effectively. Availability issues for England national team players. 1. Due to national team call-ups, many club players are unable to participate in league matches, causing difficulties for various teams. 2. However, Exeter Chiefs key player Henry Slade has been released by the England team to participate in today's match. 3. This is good news for the Chiefs, as Slade is a crucial player for them, and his presence will help the team overcome their current slump. Briefing: Kenyan men convicted of murdering Ugandan Olympic runner Benjamin Kiplagat. On October 28, 2024, 2 Kenyan men were convicted of murdering Ugandan Olympic long-distance runner Benjamin Kiplagat, who was stabbed to death in northwestern Kenya on December 31, 2023. Meanwhile, the Israeli military has killed hundreds of Palestinian civilians in northern Gaza over the past 3 weeks, forcing 60,000 people to flee their homes. This area has been cut off from the outside world, making it impossible for aid workers to enter. The UN Secretary-General and the High Commissioner for Human Rights have expressed shock and condemnation, stating that the region is experiencing its darkest hour. Overall, these 2 incidents reflect the current turmoil and violence in the region, causing immense suffering for local populations. The international community needs to take action to halt the worsening humanitarian crisis. Briefing: U.S. presidential election approaches, Puerto Rican and Cuban American votes in focus. 1. Puerto Ricans have strongly condemned derogatory remarks made by Republicans and are calling for support for Democratic candidate Harris. This could potentially lead to political losses for the Republican Party. 2. While most Cuban Americans support Trump, they oppose the cancellation of humanitarian parole programs, which contradicts Trump's policies. This reflects the complex attitudes within the Cuban American community. 3. Early voting shows active participation from Republicans, but the overall situation remains unclear. 4. Despite Republicans leading in early voting in key swing states, Democrats still hold an advantage in some areas. The final outcome will depend on the election day and subsequent counting process. 5. Cuba is facing a severe electricity crisis, leading to widespread public dissatisfaction. Overall, the upcoming U.S. presidential election is expected to be fiercely contested, with minority votes playing a crucial role. Meanwhile, Cuba's electricity crisis has sparked strong public discontent, posing significant challenges for the government. Briefing on October 28, 2024. Summary of articles ***. 1. Author Elif Shafak spoke at the Frankfurt Book Fair opening, calling for literature to play an important role in an era filled with anxiety and division. She emphasized that literature can connect seemingly disparate issues, evoke empathy and wisdom, and serve as a force for resistance and hope. 2. The Washington Post and Los Angeles Times recently announced they will no longer endorse presidential candidates, sparking controversy. Critics argue this is a retreat from democracy, reflecting the private interests of newspaper owners. Meanwhile, Trump has threatened to closely monitor the 2024 election, raising concerns. 3. Vice President Kamala Harris is attempting to portray Trump as a dangerous provocateur and is seeking support from Republican Liz Cheney. Cheney stated that Trump's instability and extremism are unacceptable, and she is willing to collaborate with Harris to prevent Trump from being re-elected. Overall, these articles reflect the current societal anxiety and division, emphasizing the complex roles that literature, media, and political figures play in this era. The articles call for the protection of democracy while also showcasing the potential for bipartisan cooperation. Briefing: Italy's new outsourcing model for asylum applications sparks controversy. Main points ***. 1. The Italian government has introduced a new model for processing asylum applications, transferring applicants to Albania for a 28-day review. This is the first plan in Europe to process asylum applications outside its borders. 2. The plan only targets healthy male migrants from 19 countries deemed safe by Italy. A small number of those granted asylum will be allowed to enter Italy, while the majority will be deported to their home countries. 3. This model has sparked widespread controversy. The European Court has ruled that no non-EU country can be classified as a safe country, which poses a significant blow to the plan. The court's ruling will lead to the return of the initial 16 applicants transferred to Albania back to Italy. 4. Despite facing legal challenges, this outsourcing model for asylum applications may attract attention and imitation in other European countries amid tightening immigration policies across Europe. Overall, this new asylum application processing model has sparked significant controversy, with its legality and feasibility being questioned. However, in the context of increasingly stringent immigration policies in Europe, this outsourcing approach may inspire similar practices in other countries. Briefing: CNOOC achieves record high performance. In the third quarter of 2024, CNOOC Limited achieved record net production and net profits. Key highlights ***. 1. Net production in the first 3 quarters reached 542.1 million barrels of oil equivalent, an increase of 8.5% year-on-year. Domestic net production in China grew by 6.8% to 369.2 million barrels, while overseas net production rose by 12.2% to 172.9 million barrels. 2. Net profit attributable to shareholders increased by 19.5% year-on-year, reaching 116.66 billion yuan. The company's oil and gas revenue amounted to 271.43 billion yuan, a year-on-year increase of 13.9%. 3. Capital expenditures were approximately 95.34 billion yuan, up 6.6% year-on-year. Overall, CNOOC has achieved significant growth across key indicators such as production, profit, and revenue, demonstrating the company's outstanding performance in oil and gas exploration, development, and management. This lays a solid foundation for the company's future sustainable development. Briefing on Japan's 2024 election. On October 27, 2024, Japan held a fierce parliamentary election. The ruling Liberal Democratic Party, LDP, led by newly appointed Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba, may fail to secure a majority in the House of Representatives, marking the LDP's worst election result since 2009. According to polls, the conservative LDP and its small coalition parties may not reach the threshold of 233 seats needed for a majority in the House of Representatives. This would severely undermine Ishiba's position, forcing him to seek other coalition partners or form a minority government. Voter dissatisfaction stems from inflation and the funding scandal involving former Prime Minister Fumio Kishida. Ishiba has promised to revitalize rural areas and address Japan's declining population, referred to as a silent emergency, but he has already made concessions on some issues, appointing only 2 female ministers. In many constituencies, LDP candidates are neck-and-neck with candidates from the second-largest party, the Constitutional Democratic Party, CDP, led by former Prime Minister Yoshihiko Noda. The CDP stance is seen as similar to that of the LDP, but it may also serve as an alternative choice. If the LDP coalition fails to secure a majority, Ishiba may resign immediately, becoming Japan's shortest-serving prime minister since World War II. This would represent the LDP's worst election result since 2009, significantly damaging Ishiba's standing. Briefing: Olympus CEO resigns amid drug allegations, controversy over Tokyo Jingu-Gaon redevelopment, Japan develops zero-carbon concrete, decline of Japanese Yakuza group Kudo-Kai. Summary of main points *. 1. Stefan Kaufmann, CEO of Japanese medical device manufacturer Olympus, resigned due to allegations of purchasing illegal drugs. The company stated that an investigation found Kaufmann's actions inconsistent with the company's code of conduct, core values, and corporate culture. 2. The redevelopment project of Tokyo's Jingu-Gaon has sparked controversy, involving the removal and transplantation of hundreds of trees. Despite some adjustments made by the developer, over 210,000 signatures have been collected opposing the project, fearing damage to the environment and landscape. 3. Japanese researchers have developed a new type of concrete that emits virtually no carbon dioxide during production. This calcium carbonate concrete has met the strength requirements of the Building Standards Act and is currently seeking certification, with expectations for practical use by 2029. 4. The Japanese Yakuza group Kudo-Kai has become virtually extinct after being successfully targeted by Fukuoka police a decade ago. Once one of Japan's most feared gangs, it has seen its income sources cut off and members leave due to ongoing police crackdowns. Overall, these reports cover various fields including Japanese corporations, environmental protection, technological innovation, and the fight against organized crime, reflecting some of Japan's pressing issues and development trends. Briefing on October 28, 2024. Theme: King Charles's visit to Australia. Key information points *. 1. King Charles and Queen Camilla recently completed a 6-day visit to Australia, which is seen as a significant blow to the Australian Republican movement. 2. Despite some opposition prior to the visit, the majority of Australians warmly welcomed the royal family and expressed hope for their return soon. 3. During the visit, the king engaged with local Indigenous representatives, expressing respect for their traditions and wisdom. This interaction is considered one of the highlights of the visit. 4. Although a few politicians refused to attend the king's reception events, the general public actively participated, demonstrating support for the monarchy. This has disappointed some Republicans. 5. Overall, this visit is viewed as a significant setback for the Australian Republican movement, potentially delaying it by about a decade. Many hope for the king to visit Australia again soon. Summary * King Charles and Queen Camilla's visit to Australia was a resounding success, receiving a warm welcome from the public and providing strong support for the monarchy's status in Australia. This visit is likely to have a major impact on the local Republican movement and has sparked anticipation for the king's return. Briefing: Timothée Chalamet hosts impersonation contest in New York. 1. Actor Timothée Chalamet held an impersonation contest in Washington Square Park, New York, attracting a large number of fans. The police eventually dispersed the crowd and fined the organizer $500. 2. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith pledged to protect free speech through the Jordan Peterson Act, which aims to limit the powers of professional colleges and regulatory bodies. This move is intended to secure continued support from conservative backers. 3. Hawaii's election observer system is considered one of the most modern and secure election systems in the nation. While some Republicans still express doubts about the electoral process, the majority of observers believe it is fair and transparent. 4. TSMC founder Morris Chang stated that the company faces the most severe challenges due to U.S. export restrictions on China. However, TSMC executives remain confident in the company's technological advantages and global leadership. 5. A couple on the Isle of Islay in Scotland has given up their life in London to take over the UK's most remote pub. They report that despite the challenges of running a pub, they generally enjoy this lifestyle. Briefing on October 28, 2024. 1. On October 20, 2024, New Zealand defeated South Africa by 32 runs in the final of the ICC Women's T20 World Cup, claiming their first championship in the tournament. New Zealand batted first, scoring 158 for 5, while South Africa fell short with a score of 126 for 9. Amelia Kerr not only earned the MVP of the match, but also the best player of the tournament. 2. Australian social worker Helen O'Sullivan witnessed the tragic death of Turkish-American activist Aysenur Ezgi Agi, who was shot by Israeli Defense Forces during a peaceful protest against the Israeli occupation. O'Sullivan noted that Agi posed no threat yet was fatally struck. This incident has reignited questions and criticisms regarding the Israeli military's actions in Palestinian territories. 3. In housing construction, Australia had seen rapid growth in new home builds over the past 5 years, but recent factors such as the pandemic, supply chain issues, and labor shortages have led to a decline in new completions. Experts suggest that addressing housing issues requires greater government investment in public housing and encouraging medium-density residential development to improve existing suburban housing structures. Comprehensive report on October 28, 2024. 1. Workers in Singapore expect real wage growth to improve in 2025, primarily benefiting from rising labor productivity expectations and easing inflation. However, nominal wage growth may narrow, as it has already slowed in the first half of 2024. 2. Although employment is expected to remain strong, certain groups, such as displaced professionals, managers, executives, and technicians, METs, as well as older workers, have lower re-employment rates than the pre-pandemic average. This may increase the risk of underutilization of workers. 3. Former Philippine President Duterte acknowledged the existence of a death squad during his tenure as mayor of Davao City, aimed at controlling crime. He provided contradictory statements regarding the composition of the squad, first claiming it was made up of police officers and later saying it consisted of gang members. 4. Canada and the US must take a firmer stance against the Indian government's attempts to suppress dissenting voices abroad. A Sikh separatist, who has been alleged to be the target of an Indian assassination plot, claimed that Indian consulates in the US and Canada are operating spy networks but provided no evidence. Overall, these reports cover the labor market situation in Singapore, allegations against the former Philippine president regarding a death squad, and the Indian government's attempts to suppress dissent abroad. The reports highlight key information points on relevant issues, providing readers with a comprehensive understanding. Briefing: Odisha government transfers tiger to Similipal Tiger Reserve. 1. The Odisha government has transferred a female tiger from the Tadoba Andhuri Tiger Reserve in Maharashtra to the state's largest Similipal Tiger Reserve to enhance the genetic diversity of the tiger population in the region. Similipal currently has 27 tigers, of which 13 adult tigers exhibit a rare melanistic trait, unique in the world. 2. In the upcoming by-elections, the Bahujan Samaj Party, BSP, has once again become a stumbling block for the National Democratic Alliance, NDA, and the Indian Unity Alliance, India. The BSP has selected 4 upper caste candidates, including 2 Brahmins, 1 Rajput, and 1 businessman, aiming to leverage social engineering among voters to hinder BJP's Hindu populism. 3. The Indian Ministry of Finance has acknowledged recent consumer sentiment weakness and declining demand, particularly in urban areas, while industrial momentum has also weakened. Nevertheless, the ministry expects economic growth for the fiscal year 2024-25 to be between 6.5% and 7%. It noted that rural demand has rebounded due to favorable monsoons, while urban demand has slowed, reflected in declining sales of fast-moving consumer goods, shrinking automobile sales, and a decrease in real estate sales and launches. 4. In the upcoming Mumbai constituency of Worli, Aditya Thackeray of the Shiv Sena, UBT, and Milan Deora of the Shiv Sena, Shinde, will engage in fierce competition. This election battle not only concerns their political futures, but also the fate of the divided factions of the Shiv Sena. Briefing: Israel accuses Al Jazeera journalists of terrorism. On October 28, 2024, the Israel Defense Forces, IDF, claimed to have solid evidence that at least 6 Al Jazeera journalists are members of Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad. The IDF stated that it found the names of these journalists in Hamas documents, listing their military training, positions, and salaries. Al Jazeera strongly denied these allegations, calling them baseless fabrications. The network stated that Israel is merely attempting to prevent it from reporting on military operations in northern Gaza. The accused journalists also denied the allegations, stating that this constitutes a violation of international law. Additionally, Israel raided Al Jazeera's office in East Jerusalem in May and ordered its closure for at least 45 days. This marks the first time Israel has shut down a foreign news organization's office. Overall, the relationship between Israel and Al Jazeera has been tense, with Israel repeatedly accusing the network of being a mouthpiece for Hamas and Hezbollah. This latest accusation is seen as part of Israel's efforts to stifle the network's reporting on the conflict in Gaza.